is Daniel Robinson. I attend AC Flora, and I'm planning to major in geology at College of Charleston.
Good job.
When the lights and camera turn off, I will be here. When the interest and conversation fade, I will be here. When there's no one around, a father will do anything it takes to be there for his son, to protect his family.
David.
Where's everybody?
9 painful months.
Without these special people behind me, I wouldn't have a search.
Because of the way seatbelt locked, so we know seatbelt. Hello, everyone. Dave Robinson here. Thank you again for joining in on this live. I telling everyone I was going to try to do a live every Friday going forward. I'm still trying to work out the time when I was doing this live. For those who came in just a while ago and then I jumped back off, I had some technical difficulties. I think I'm still having those. Still trying to get things rolled back up like I used to make sure I'm doing these lives, like I say, every week. But I definitely want to thank you, like I said, for jumping in on this live. I can say for those who were on Instagram for whatever reason, Instagram was not getting on the platform that I normally use. So I'll work out those bugs again to try to make sure that I'm including everyone. But for right now, I just have the YouTube. If you're on X or you're on Facebook, thank you so much. Again, for those who normally like to use the Instagram, and if you had to jump on a different way, I will be working that out. I'm just not sure what happened with the platform and why it's not allowing me to put Instagram on. I did try twice. That's why you see me jump off and jump back on. But anyway, I'm Dave Robinson. For those who may not know me, may know me, and have not watched any of my lives in the past, I have stopped lives for a while. It's been something I've been doing every morning, every evening, almost daily. I had a daily live going on at one point talking about my son's case, especially when he first went missing. You can see the vehicle behind me when he first went missing, and also when that vehicle showed up, that has heightened the attention needed to try to help find my son. Since then, of course, with all the work that I have been doing, trying to search for my son, all the work on the outside of the desert, inside of the desert, working with other organizations, news medias, to you name it. I end up running for office, and then from that point, everyone know that when you're running for office, it's very demanding. And again, that's the reason why I pulled me away from this. But for those who, like I said, don't know Daniel's case, that's the reason why I'm coming back now to try to every Friday start working on for awareness about my son's case again, make sure it stays in the from being a cold case situation, because it's not a cold case by any stretch. We'll talk about that at the end, because we do have a lot of things that law enforcement can and should be working on to get the new leads in Daniel's case and to keep his case from going to cold case status. Because it's not a cold case status if you haven't exhausted all of the leads that's in Daniel's case, and there's plenty of leads that can be found available. It's just that trying to get law enforcement to act upon those leads. And so that's where I'm at right now. Still working on that. I talked to you guys last week about, the transaction I had with law enforcement with Buckeye Police Department, who gave me some promises, for that custody exchange. I gave over the vehicle, the clothing, the airbags, everything found at the scene. To date, the only thing they did was spray some chemical on the clothing. I think he said to look for blood, and that was it. And that's not what we agreed on. We agreed on a full workup on forensics, things that wasn't done at the scene, at this crime scene that you see right here behind me. The clothing on the ground 3 feet away from the vehicle line on the side, the red transfer paint on the vehicle, the 11 additional miles, the 46 initial cycles, somebody cranking up the vehicle 46 times after the first initial crash. It's been driven 11 additional miles after the crash, those type things. And if it's lying on the side, it's impossible to be driving anywhere 11 additional miles. Plus, it would not be able to be cranked up 46 times, or even be attempted to crank up 46 times when lying on the side. No human can do that. So I'm going to be pointing out some things tonight. And like I said, just kind of brushing over my son's case for those who haven't known anything about Daniel's case. And then also going to those who do know about Daniel's case, some things that you probably haven't heard before, some things you have heard before. So you hear some redundant stuff. But what I'm going to say is the perspective that I have as a father, as a person who had to do my own investigation, even had to hire a private investigation so he can do an investigation. So it's 2 different investigations. Other investigation that many don't know, because only thing you hear in the media is that I had hired a private investigator, but I had 2 other private investigators that is unmentioned in my son's case, because those are what we say quiet investigators that I had. One who focused on anything that like cartels and the drugs and trade that goes through Arizona. I have one for that, and then the other investigator I had for my own personal, he was there to advise me what I should do as a father who's doing his own investigation, and so he was giving me a lot of advisement. So that's why I was able to follow some leads and find some leads on my own. So again, I'm here to talk about Daniel's case some. For those who don't know Daniel's case, just give you a brief overview. And most of that, you can go to YouTube channel. Please help find Daniel. You can see all my videos, tons of them. Learn about Daniel's case. You can Google his name, geologist Daniel Robinson, and a lot of information come up. So you can learn a lot about what happened to my son's case. But the overview would be simple. The simple thing that was given to the public. Of course, there's a deviations to that, because like I said, I do not believe everything that was given to the public. It's just the story to give you the narrative of what the story was told in Daniel's case. Even is all focused on one person who's seen Daniel last. His name is Ken. And so again, my son, he's from Columbia, South Carolina, born and raised. My family, 4 generations, probably a little better than that, has been South Carolina natives, Columbia, South Carolina. And Daniel born and raised here. Of course, many know that Daniel, you can see in the picture here, he's born without a right hand, but that haven't stopped him. He's a person who's a go-getter. He's very free-spirited. He's a loving person. He loves God and family. One of the things I wanted to point out is that Daniel has, decided to do geology, and after he left high school, he graduated. He still was kind of undecided, but he had the idea of geology in his freshman year. He decided to keep going with that because he fell in love with it. He graduated with honors. Again, with his personality, he's a very friendly person. If you get to know Daniel, trust me, you will love him. He's he have high ambitions and aspirations, the things that he want to do. He want to be a millionaire before he turned 30, is what he tell me. So he did everything he can to try to start aligning himself that direction. Start his own business eventually. The company he ended up working for was like just a stepping stone for him. In his future, like I said, he liked to travel, and then lastly, he really enjoyed Arizona. You know, a geologist will love Arizona. So that desert terrain, he liked that, those things being around nature. So to get into his story, Daniel ended up leaving when he got out of college. He graduated. Like I said, he went to Flagstaff to take a final class. After graduation, contacted his mother. We talked about Daniel, what he's going to do when he get back, how we can help him. You know, from that point, where he's going to go to look for a job or what the case may be with his career, his new career for himself. But Daniel called me and told me that he was going to remain in Arizona. It was very much a big shock. He said, hey, look, after the class, he's like, look, I landed me a job. I'm going to Phoenix, and he's staying in Arizona. He loved Arizona. So he landed his first job with Matrix New World. It's the name of the company. It's an engineering company that assess groundwaters. They work with groundwaters. Arizona being a desert state, their job is to assess groundwaters. Like I said, and they hire geologists. There's a geology type company. They hire geologists, and they also give them a title of a hydrogeologist, in which Daniel's job was a hydrogeologist, where he go out to various well sites, you know, in places where they're actually digging up groundwater, drilling, and things like that. So, you know, they assess the wells, especially when it's involving communities. By law in Arizona, every community, I think, have to have at least 2 well sites, and each of those well sites have to produce at least 100 years of water. And those wells have to recharge itself after the 100 years. So they have constant groundwater reliant on those waters. And so Daniel, on June the 23rd of 2021, he again, to back up a little bit, he goes to various well sites all the time. Sometimes he's working the day, sometimes he's working night, because I'm on the phone with him a lot. He does both, but he travels. And he was assigned to 2 well sites in Buckeye, Arizona on June the 23rd, 2021. He, according to his job, and he made it to the first well site. And from that well site, Daniel took some pictures of logs and things like that. But when he was to head to the second well site, his assignment was to go to a second well site off a road called Sun Valley Parkway, that's right outside the desert area, and meet a person from a company called Weber Waterworks, and his name is Ken. You go meet a guy named Ken. From what I can tell from Daniel's phone records, of course, in his text message, Ken called Daniel and left a voicemail that I have that asked Daniel not to come. Of course, I don't know what happened in between, how Daniel was set in one spot or he moved around, but we'll talk about those things. I have details of that now, but during the time, that wasn't part of the story. But Daniel, according to his job and according to Ken, was to meet Ken at the Sun Valley Parkway, outside of Cactus Road Junction, there outside of that desert area, the Sonoran Desert. And when Daniel got there to that location, Ken met him. According to Ken, he met Daniel on the side of the road outside of that desert. They had a brief conversation there. Daniel followed him into that desert. They drove 1 mile west, 2 miles north to get to a well site. Once they arrived to the well site at 9 o'clock, according to Ken, they had a brief conversation about the weather. Daniel, according to Ken, he said that he wanted to go back to Phoenix to rest for whatever reason, even though Daniel lived in Tempe at the time. But to go to Phoenix and rest. They talked about the weather because it's a pending storm, is what I was told at the time. And they look at the weather app to see if it's going to rain, actually. And like I said, he said Daniel was there they had a conversation about the weather, said he wanted to go back to Phoenix to rest. And then Daniel eventually just waved off to him, hopped in his vehicle, drove off to never be seen again. Ken said that right after Daniel left, he didn't wonder where he went. Then he went to go look for him. He told me personally, I just had to go by what he told me, except from outside of what I heard from law enforcement and also what I saw hindsight in the police report. But he told me directly, and my daughter and another young lady that was there that day, that he stayed left for the tracks. He went to go look for Daniel. He stayed left for the tracks because he saw the tracks on the ground, and he went back south towards the T junction. Like I said, when they went 1 mile west, and then they had to go. That's the T junction there, and they had to go north for 2 miles, right at that T junction. And when he came back down 2 miles to that T junction where Daniel should have turned left to go back to Sun Valley Parkway, he said he's followed these tracks going south, and he stayed left to the tracks to make sure he didn't, disturb the tracks, because he know law enforcement was going to come and this thing was going to go national. He stayed left of those tracks. He made it to the T-junction. You know, the tracks went out west. He followed tracks out west. He got to a fence with a wooden fence, and he opened the fence up. He drove another mile or so until he got to an open area. He got up in high embankment area to see if he could see Daniel from a distance. And then he said he started painting some rocks of red spray paint because he wanted law enforcement to know where the vehicle went, where the tires went, the tracks went. And so that was the initial story that I got. Like I said, for me, my perspective, actually talking to Ken, because that was the first thing I did when I left Columbia, South Carolina. I drove over 2,000 miles to get to Arizona to find my son myself. That's a little part of the story I'll be talking about today. I want to start at the beginning point and kind of give you guys an idea of where I am at in my headspace at the time, and also the challenges I had when I had to leave my home and to go search for my son. So we're going to start there. And like I said, every week I'm going to try to build on that and talk about Daniel's case. We're going to talk about the point when this vehicle showed up as well, almost 30 days after that vehicle, after Daniel supposedly left that well site, and some of the issues that I have with this vehicle. I'm going to share some of the pictures today, but we'll go deep dive in it. You know, as I get every week, I'm going to deep dive into some of the things I feel about this whole entire case. There's going to be some new things you guys have never heard about, some pictures you may see that you never seen before, those type things. But I am reserving a lot of it for a different reason, but there's some that I can let go and share with the public. So I will be doing that from time to time, little smaller things here and there, adding that you guys have never seen about Daniel's case, and talk about those things and give you a little detail, like I said, about what I feel as a father and this experience that I had dealing with law enforcement and et cetera. But before I go, I want to say hello to everyone who's in the chat. So I'm going to put you on the screen. But thank you so much, Tubi, Tub for being here, AA3 for constantly being part of my live streams. And you know, PM Channel, I really, truly, truly appreciate you. You're always there as well. I appreciate everything you do, getting even into you. Ruru, thank you so much for joining in also from the YouTube side. Olivia, thank you so much for being here from the YouTube side. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for the prayers. And Mary Ellen, thank you so much. Greetings to you as well. I truly appreciate it. And let's see who else I have here. Happy Gail 2025. Hello to you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it for keeping us in your prayers and your mind. I truly appreciate it. And those who are here and joining in with me, thank you so much for being a part. Now, to go at the beginning, what I want to talk about, and what I want to do is next week I'm going to what I'm trying to do is edit some of the stuff, because of course some of the recordings I've been recording myself when I talk to law enforcement. So all the things I've been saying over the years, what law enforcement put in their police report is contradictory to what's really happened on the ground. You cannot believe anything. I ain't say don't believe anything, but you can't believe everything you read in the police report because it's not accurate. Those type things I say it because I always keep receipts, to put it that way. And one of the things that I have done when and I'll give you the backdrop. When I first got the news of my son being missing, that was from my daughter. I was sitting here in my home. And, you know, I'm a retired military guy, so I'm sitting in my little area in the back where I enjoy the most. Like I tell people all the time, Daniel know what that spot is. His siblings know that spot, and my family know what that spot is. Everyone who knows David knows what the spot is, and that I really enjoy trying to relax myself and do my retirement. I'm a retired military guy, like I said. And when I received that phone call from my daughter, I can hear in her voice. Any parent know that sound in their child's voice. She was very devastated. She was feeling, worried, really worried. And when I had a conversation with her, she did tell me that somebody came to her home, her apartment, and was inquiring if Daniel was there. One of her initial thoughts, she told me, is the fact that this guy know where she lives. She don't know who this guy is, but he claimed that Daniel brought him there before, not to her apartment, but he's been there before, so that's why he knew where she lived. Okay, but he did and say that he was checking to see if Daniel's there because he's from the job. His name is Roger. He said that he's definitely, and I'll give you hindsight, Roger ended up being one of Daniel's close friends from off the job. And so he left a message to her telling her that, didn't hear from Daniel since 8 o'clock that morning. The time frame that I heard from them during the time was 8 o'clock, but then, hindsight, we heard about time changes. But it was 8 o'clock since 8 o'clock that morning. They didn't hear from Daniel. They was inquiring if he was there. He wasn't at home. Of course, she was really devastated, like I said, my daughter. And at the time, I told her, hey, look, I need to get information first. We don't, like any family, don't just say, hey, a person is missing or something is totally wrong. Of course, we're going to be calling their phone. That's the first thing we do. So we started doing that due diligence, making phone calls, asking family members. I sent my daughter over to his apartment to see if he was there, but take someone with you, of course. And she was able to do that in the meantime, like I say, making these phone calls to family, friends, you name it. No one heard from Daniel. By the time she got there, she noticed that his vehicle was gone. She went to his doors locked. But she noticed his blinds on the patio. It was kind of cracked open, so she was able to peek in. When she peeked in, she saw a light on in the living room, which she thought was weird to her because it was in the daytime. And so she was, we was all wondering, where is Daniel? To make a long story, I started feeling a certain way once I realized the time changes. There was a difference in June. Every summer in the June period, we're 3 hours ahead of Arizona. And so when I did the time difference, I realized it was over 6 hours. It's just not Daniel's character to go that long or any time, even close to that long, without telling someone where he's gone to. He's a grown man. He do what he want to do. Nobody's constantly keeping tabs where he go. But if he's going on a trip, he's going for a good length of time, he tells us all the time. His siblings are knowing so much information about Daniel. We know so much information about each other. So they do things like share passwords. They do, so we have a really close siblings with each other, close, tight-knit family when it comes to our children, when it comes to our family. So, those things, like I say, just really stood out. And so that really would put me in that worrisome situation. I still want to do some due diligence to make sure that, I'm doing my part first before I actually say he's missing. So the next thing that came to mind is foul play or something, because Daniel would not go without answering his phone. His phone was ringing, and he's not answering. And so the first thing I thought about is a welfare check. Hey, look, let's do a welfare check. And I called the Tempe police department to try to get a welfare check. That was denied. And that was denied only because I mentioned, I'm assuming, because I mentioned that the information I got from his job was that he was last seen around this White Tank Mountains. That's the only thing they told me at the time. I never heard of Sun Valley Parkway, but White Tank Mountains ended up turning out to be an area in Buckeye. And so when they heard that, they kind of brushed Tempe, brush it off to Buckeye, say, hey, you need to call the Buckeye Police Department. I know he lives in Tempe, but you need to call them and have them, I guess, reach out to them to do this welfare check. So I ended up doing that. They did that. Buckeye Police Department initially ended up after I was able to have to put the police report in. They told me I had to wait extra 2 hours because they had an 8 hour or something wait period or so. And make a long story, I waited 2 hours, putting the missing person report in so I can get this welfare check, to make a long story. And so I ended up getting the welfare check. I was feeling nervous about it. I really didn't want to even call TNP when I was asking them, because during the time it was right after the George Floyd thing, and cops were shooting people of color and things like that. So it was a lot of that was going on. And, being a parent, it was hard for me to not be in Arizona and send the cops to my son's place, and so those things kind of bothered me to imagine doing that, but I had to do that. But they, in turn, like I said, they passed through there. They checked this door. They peeked and said the same thing. They saw the light on through the blinds, and that's the end of the welfare check. From that point, I was talking to Officer Cruz. When I put the report in, I talked to the officer that night. It was Officer Cruz. We had the conversation. Him and another officer were riding down Sun Valley Parkway that night to see if he was stuck on the side of the road, those type things. But then when I asked them for a helicopter search, to make a long story short, what made me end up leaving South Carolina is the language they had. First, they told me they wasn't being able to put a bird in the air at night. Being a military veteran, I knew that was a lie, but let that settle with them. But then they told me the next day they would have a helicopter out there. But when it came, they denied it. And he says higher ups pretty much denied this flight, unauthorized it, is what he told me basically. And because Daniel's a grown man, can disappear if he want to. Those kind of languages, I know also well from the time frame that I grew up in. I knew from law enforcement, I know those all too well. That means that they're not going to do anything despite of the fact of the information that we gave them to say, hey, this is an emergency situation, and it's a desert situation. It's a life and death situation, and they need to put a bird in the air. So, of course, I kind of lost it. I'll be honest with you guys. As a parent, you can. I kind of lost it instead of getting on the plane. I threw everything I can in the vehicle. I don't know if it's second nature because I'm a truck driver, but I threw my stuff in the vehicle and just started heading out west. In the meantime, I was doing a lot of work, of course, lead work and things like that. But I want to stop right here, and I want you guys to hear something from Officer Haley. I'm going to see if I can play this, and this is something one of the new things I said before I'm going to start doing when it comes to these lives, and start put some information out there to the public. So all the things I've been saying for the years, people will say, oh yeah, that's just Mr. Robinson making up stuff. No, these are actual facts. I keep receipts. Like I said, I record myself talking to law enforcement about my son's case. It was intentional. Of course, I always record myself. And so those things were some things that I was able to keep. Like I tell families all the time now, hindsight, when you have a missing loved one, the first thing you need to do is to keep all the notes you can keep. Anything law enforcement tell you, anybody you talk to, whatever the case may be, you have someone to write those things down, the time that we did it, that details, whatever the case may be, have witnesses, whatever you need to do, because you never know how these things can come back to help you, right? So again, and also help you remember some of the things that happened in the case. But I'm gonna play a little part here, and I'm see if it allow me to play. And if you guys can hear this, I'm putting on a screen here. But if you guys can hear this, please give me some thumb up in the chats, because this is the first time I'm trying this on the StreamYard. I just want to make sure it actually worked. So yes, thank you so much, PM Chandler, for saying that. But PM Chandler, if you hear this audio that I'm about to play, let me know you can hear it. If you don't hear it, then I know it don't work, and I have to try something else next time I come on the live. But I want you guys to listen to this, and we're going to I'll talk about it on the other end. But I'm starting from a certain point because there's some personal information there when I'm talking to the officer that don't need to be in the public. So I'm starting from a certain point where you can hear Officer Haley speaking the point. I want to give you what you guys should be looking for is the fact that law enforcement say, hey, they put a bird in there and things like that. They did certain things. And these are, and I have more videos, audio you guys will hear where they will tell you there was nothing in the computer basically that says they ever did a search like that. You won't hear anything what this officer said about the actually being some type of search for my son, but that he was part of some type of database. The NCIC database is what they put Daniel into. So you'll hear a little bit of that too. So I'm trying to get this screen correct so you guys. Oh, David, that's probably a little better, so you can still see me. But so I'm just trying to give you a little highlight of that, of how this would be, so you guys can understand what I'm doing. But here we go.
Fault, or if it's something else going on, but that's kind of where we ended up on that part of it. So I know that we had that guy that he was working with. His name is Ken. So I talked to Ken directly because Ken was the last person to see Daniel at the job site, and I asked him like, "Hey, what was going on that day?" I know Officer Cruz talked to him yesterday, and what information I got was that, hang on a second. What information I got was that Daniel goes to this job site. This guy Ken just met Daniel that moment in time. He'd never met him before, and apparently that's a normal situation. They have different contractors they work with. Right. And when he interacts with them, he says that they get to the job site, which is like out in the desert as it is. It's like kind of about, like a mile west of the main part of the roadway there. And it's like when he gets there, it looks like it's about to rain, and Daniel makes a comment to Ken saying, "Hey, do you want to go home?" And then, which not abnormal, but he said, he's like, "All right, let me check the weather, because again, we got to do this job." And he's looking on the website, and he goes for like a weather app, I guess. And then Daniel states, "Do you want to go to Phoenix?" And Ken's like, "No, we got to get started on the job." Well, then he said about 15 minutes into this job there, he notices that Daniel's kind of like looking out in the distance and kind of like almost like he's daydreaming, like kind of just standing there not saying anything. And then he starts talking, but when he's saying stuff, it wasn't stuff that was like incoherent. It was stuff that was just not related to their job. So randomly, he says at one point Daniel just waves to him like he's leaving, gets in his car, and then drives away. And he didn't know what was going on, so Ken's like, I finished my job, and then he was waiting for him to come back or something, but he never did. So he drives like down to this area where when they came into this road, it gets like a T intersection where he can go either right or left, left back towards the roadway, or right out into the desert. And
I want to stop right here real quick, if everybody don't mind. One thing that Officer Haler haven't said, and also I'm going to let you guys hear what Officer Cruz said once I get, like I said, it's a lot of personal things there, a lot of information there that I definitely want to kind of protect. So once I get those things edited out, I will let you see the first officer that talked to Ken as well. His name is Officer Cruz. But either way, both have never mentioned that Ken said that it was actually raining, right? And you see that in the report reflected. He said, "Oh, it was because after the rain, there's fresh tracks and this and that." But Ken have never said it, according to these officers who were talking to me on the phone. He said it looked as it appeared to get ready to rain. So they looked at the app to see what the weather was going to be, right? Those type deals. So it was never mentioning that it was raining at that given time. So I just wanted everybody to point that part out. And as you hear the story, when they're now at speaking about this T junction again, when they came into that desert, it was 1 mile west, 2 miles north. You can put that in your head going up north, and that's where the well site is located, right off the north side. And then once he left this area, he had to go a little east, probably like a few hundred feet east, just to get to that same road that goes back down south. And then when he goes down south, so that means he had to go back east, right? So instead, Ken said the tracks went out west. But again, I just wanted to kind of just really help everybody understand that there was never, ever mentioning of any rain. And then I can tell you this, I know we have people argue back and forth about this rain issue, but I have even checked the weather app, and you guys can go through historical points and find out was there any rain that day, and you'll find there were not any rain that day. But anyway, we would go back on, and I'll let you guys hear the rest of this.
And there was like no tracks on the road, and he saw that there was some fresh tracks that went out towards the desert, and that's what made him believe he went out that direction. So he moves around for a couple hours. He starts calling his coworkers, looking for him. No one hears from him. From Daniel. They looked at the area. I know Officer Cruz and his partner went out to the desert area for a few hours. The night shift officers also did that, and then after you and I talked, I went out to the desert out there and looked around. And I don't know if you saw the map area. Again, I could spend almost 2 or 3 days out there. It's very hard to check every spot. It's going to be almost impossible. I looked at my supervisor also looked into trying to get a helicopter out there. I don't make those decisions. If it was up to me, I would have asked for a helicopter to go out there and check the area. But as of right now, it was denied on the lieutenant level. Again, I don't know. I just relay the information to my supervisor, who then asks his boss for that, because it has to be through those circumstances. The information that was told to me was kind of based off of not a direct statement of him wanting to hurt himself. It was, and because of the time delay, there's not enough.
Well, we can't, as a family, we can't request it. I'm going to cut you off, but we can't request that as a family.
No, because I wish it was like that, you know what I mean, where somebody could ask for, I mean, you can ask always for a personal helicopter, like if you want to, if you got a family member or friend that you know that could fly their own aircraft out there, that's a different situation. But as far as a police helicopter, for a family or a citizen to request that, it would probably be denied, but that's just kind of standard protocol for those things.
And I want to stop right here again, everyone. First of all, it's really hard for me to hear that again when they tell me all of that. But yeah, again, this is the day, I just want to give context. This is a day after June the 23rd, 2021. You know, I had to go the whole entire night. Talking to Officer Cruz, giving all the information that we can to really describe the urgency of them putting a helicopter in the air that night. It's nighttime, essentially. It's dark. It's in the desert. Daniel have never ever been in that area. I seen them fly helicopters, rescue. I lived. Those who live in Arizona live in Phoenix. They know what I'm talking about. I lived on the corner of 44th Street and Camelback, and it's a mountain there. For those who don't know about Arizona, there's a mountain there right off of 44th Street. It's called Camelback Mountain, right? And I sit on my patio in the apartments I live in at the time. And I used to sit on my patio at night, and it was many nights where I seen the search and rescue helicopters go up on that mountain to rescue someone who got stranded up on the mountain, or someone who got a little heat injury or something to that effect. So when I seen all of that, I mean, I promise you guys that now I can tell you, it haven't been many nights I haven't seen that happening, and but this is in Phoenix, and to see that, and so yes, PM Channel, you know what I'm talking about. I see you say yes to the Camelback Mountain. Yes, you see it. Yes, you see helicopters there all the time, and so having them say that, and of course I was living in Tempe or living in Arizona at the time, talking to this officer. But I'm a military guy. I know about the helicopters. But the point is, I'm saying when there's an urgency, is the point I'm making. Daniel, born without a right hand. The first time I ever even used that. You know, Daniel is such a strong young man. He, like I told you guys the story, he was a baby, and he only asked about his hand one time to his mother, and his mother told him that God has it, and he needed it for himself, and he would get back to him one day, something to that effect. And Daniel had never asked about his hands again. And so, of course, the child would ask that question. He sees his other siblings with two hands, and that was natural. But he never asked again. He showed us he can do anything he wanted to do, and he does some things that are a lot better. And so what I'm saying is, I use that. I even use that to try to make it an urgency. I use the fact that Daniel's from South Carolina. I use the fact that, you know, he'd been on that company for over a year. I think it was at that point, almost 2 years. And the thing was, you know, like I said, the area there, the terrain, I mean, things I've been trying to learn about, you know, really quick. And so it's a lot. It's an urgency. There's an urgency there. The length of time that he was missing during the time in that area out there in the Sonoran Desert, it's 118 degrees in the day, and, you know, those type things. And so there was nothing. So I had to hear this, and you probably could hear it in my voice somewhat, and especially if you heard the other recordings, you hear it in my voice. And those are the times when I actually was breaking. It was breaking me with the stuff they were saying. There was no urgency. I have the other recordings I will let you guys hear when Officer Birchfield was telling me. Of course, again, there was nothing in their computer saying they had a helicopter out there. There's nothing that said they had a search going on for my son. In fact, he says, well, all they can do is put him in his database, and he get seen picked up by some car or police car, get his tags, and they say, oh, he's driving away. You know, so you guys will hear that once I get these things edited out the proper way. But you guys will hear what law enforcement actually was saying during the time. You also, hindsight, will also hear officer telling me the reason why he felt there shouldn't be any forensics done on that scene when that vehicle showed up. So I have all these receipts, is what I call them. And show you guys the incompetency and the slowness that was going on with law enforcement at the time, or the apathy, or whatever the case may be. And so it won't make it seem like I'm some type of guy who just don't like law enforcement. No, again, I have law enforcement in my family. I have one who's working on he's part of my foundation's board. a really good friend of mine. So, I mean, what I'm saying that to say, and just the plain fact that I know we need law enforcement and they have a dangerous job and they do a great job, a lot of them. What I'm saying is when this case situations, I'm going to point out when things are wrong, especially as my son, I'm going to point out some things that are wrong. And I have a low tolerance for, no tolerance at all for incomplete work. Apathy or care when you have a job like law enforcement, when you have a job like I did when I raised my right hand to serve this country. You know, you don't do things. First of all, if you have a lot of fear, you don't put yourself in. If you're a fearful person and can't do your job, that's the wrong job for you. If you can't take a little criticism, it's not the job for you. So those kind of things. That's why when people ask me, do I care about law enforcement feelings? I don't give a damn about their feelings. I care about them doing their job. And so that's the thing is I wouldn't want nobody to feel that way about me, to say, hey, I want him to do his job. Forget my feelings. You know, my feelings are not going to help me find my son for first of one thing. I just make sure I have to actually do the work. And so that's the reason why I kept a level head and try to find my son. So I'm going to let you continue to hear this as much as you can. Sorry to break it up. I'm back it up just a little tad and we'll go from there.
Helicopter for a family or a citizen to request that, it would probably be denied, but that's just kind of standard protocol for those things. That is an option we looked at. Again, I think if it got to the point where, and I can't guarantee anything, and this is just kind of my thought process as a 10-year officer and how things work on this department, because every department is different with procedures and policies and processes, per person. But if this continues where he has not been contacted after so many hours, I would think that would give us enough reason to then request a helicopter based off of the possibility that he could be either seriously injured or about to die or hopefully not deceased out there. Okay, that is worst case scenario. I hope it doesn't come to that. 99% of the times I take these kind of calls for service, the circumstances, as odd as they are, they end up turning out positive. I don't want to, so again, keep your head up. I think positive. There's nothing that I've heard in my investigations that made me think he's going out there to kill himself. It's definitely weird and definitely odd what he's been doing. Absolutely. Even, talking to the other officers that are helping me on this case, definitely very odd that he would just drive that direction under the circumstances and just drive away. The thing with the girl, Kaylin, also makes it weird because of how he has been acting with her. But that is, nothing's showing that he's going out there to kill himself or that he went out there and didn't just drive back to somewhere else later on. You know what I mean? Right. Yes, maybe the guys, you couldn't locate him initially, but if he's in a Jeep and there is trails out there, maybe he's just found a trail to drive just, a little bit lower in a level of area that he couldn't be seen by somebody. And, again, maybe the officers passed by him and didn't even notice that we were looking for him at the time. And, again, those kind of things can happen. So, again, think positive. Most of the time these things do turn out positive, but if after some time, and I'm going to guess that probably by tomorrow morning, I come back on to work at 5:30. I get off at 3:30 today, and I'm going to make sure that the officer coming on shift at 2 o'clock, actually it's 2 o'clock right now in Arizona, the officers that are working on shift in that area, they just got on shift just now. I think it's Officer Cruz that's going to be working in that area again, but I'll double check. I will inform whatever officers are working in that beat of what happened as far as my investigation today, so they're aware and get up to speed on this. But I would say by tomorrow at 5:30, if I come into work, which is when I do, and we still haven't found or heard from him, and I can reach out to you guys tomorrow to verify that, I would believe, I can't guarantee, but I would believe that it would make us be more persuaded to try to issue that helicopter to come out and look. Again, what that's going to do is obviously just because there's so much land out there, it's going to allow us to see more land versus having officers check for hours and hours, because it does go on for miles and miles out there. And sometimes that having an helicopter has been negative results where they're not able to find anything. Helicopters can only go so far, they only travel so much, and sometimes it can just be covered by a tree, a dirt, whatever the situation may be. But that was something we could look into maybe doing tomorrow. If by tomorrow we haven't heard from him, and it's starting to get to that point where, and luckily the weather's, I don't know if you're out here, you're not out here in Arizona right now, right? You're in North Carolina?
I'm in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
So the weather out here, as of right now, it's like 102. So it's not terrible. It's not super comfortable, but it's not enough to the point where, if he has a little bit of water, I think he'd be okay, but it's not like 125, 130 like how it is on certain summer days. So he's been, it's fortunate that yesterday was even better than today as far as with the weather. It was overcast and, a little bit of rain, so cooler weather than normal, but it's obviously starting to pick up back on the heat, and if he's out there stranded and, there's now day 2, it's now looking at, longer than 30 hours or more, then that's when we start possibly expediting our ability to try to reach out to him. Obviously, in the meantime, anytime that, there's social media that he gets on or logs in or anything like that, feel free to let us know. It can be 2 a.m, and let's say you log into Instagram or Facebook and you see a post from him. That means he's okay, or somebody at least logged into under his name, so we can let us know that new information. That way we can look into it, and again, we will reach out. I'll reach out to you tomorrow, and hopefully by then we've heard something. Okay. Do you have any information or any questions that about anything we talked about?
No, not at this moment. My mind's kind of gone right now. I was thinking about flying out that way. Is the way y'all have like a map of that whole area, that y'all personal map or anything like that? We can go look ourselves.
So I can give you the coordinates for where he was last located, and I can give the cross streets as well of where that is at. And how I've been looking at it, at least on my end, is through Google Maps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you can actually enter the coordinates through Google Maps and see the job site that he was last seen at. But even better, if you go to the cross streets, and I can make sure that you have the correct spelling of the street names and all that, it will pull up on Google Maps, and if there's a satellite view on Google Maps you can look at, and that's how I've been able to see what the surrounding area is. It shows just miles of desert, basically. There is a dirt road that goes into that from the main roadway on Sundial Parkway. There's a double, looks like a double gated fence. That's where they met. Ken and him met, and then they went a mile west of that main roadway on a desert dirt road. It goes about a mile west, and then about, I would say, less than a quarter mile north. There's another dirt trail that kind of like a T intersection there.
Right.
And then this job site is there. And that job site is where I have the approximate coordinates at. But the location of where he was last seen was by Ken, with the dirt tracks is where he thinks he turned when he went right at that T intersection to go out to the desert instead of making a left and going back the road that they came in on to get to the main roadway.
Oh, wow.
So again, I would not believe that he got confused and got lost, because it's if you know you're in a basic area, there's enough landmarks out there to go, okay, this is north, this is south kind of thing, and plus he's in a Jeep, so it probably has a compass in it anyways.
Right.
And I don't think they were too far away from the roadway that you can't see vehicles. There is vehicles on Sundial Parkway all the time that you could probably see it from where they were working at, but my guess is that if he did make a right-hand turn and got lost, he would have called. So that's what made it weird that is he doing this intentionally or what have you. And then the fact that he doesn't tell anybody from his company and doesn't log back into work, those kind of things are all kind of pointing to being very, very weird. So, but yeah, if you want me to, I can send you a screenshot of the Google Maps location that I can see. That way you have it. If you want to come out on your own time with anybody that you feel comfortable bringing to search, you can. I don't want to say you should or shouldn't do that. This is your son. I understand how, but be cautious if you do start going out there to search that. I don't want to see other people get stranded or lost or what have you. But again, I can't stop you if you want to go on your own or with other family members or friends of yours to go look on your own for him. What I would encourage you doing is if you do decide to come out there and do that, just let us know or let the police department know that you're going to be doing that. So that way, if you go missing or somebody else, we're kind of letting you know where your last location is. So that way we can try to locate you if you go missing by accident or what have you. So, but I don't want to say you should come out and look for son. Again, I think it's way too early for me to even say that at this point. A lot of the times, especially with adults that take off from the house, or even with teenagers that run away from the house, usually 24 or 48 hours, and most of the time they end up being at a location that we're like, okay, that's where you were. You were at a friend's house. You're somebody that we don't know about, or you have this inner life that you don't really talk to your family about.
Right.
That's kind of usually what the outcomes are. So there could be a reason for this. Again, we'll try to. I would say just give us some time. But again, if you want to come out on your own and search and all that, that's completely up to you, sir. And I can definitely send you a picture of to your phone of that Google Maps stuff so you can see where.
You may not have to. Is that the Sun Valley? I think it's in the early Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I did pull that up on the map.
So if you go to Google Maps and you look at that intersection, Cactus runs west and east. So west of Sun Valley Parkway, you'll see like a dirt trail on Google Maps. It's kind of faint there, but it's big enough that you'll see it start going west. It kind of goes up a little bit north, and then it goes west again. And then you'll see a T intersection kind of right before that wash there. The wash area runs north and south, but it's about a mile, and about a mile west of Sun Valley Parkway, you'll see this T intersection where it can continue west or it goes north, and that's where you go north for probably, I think I said a quarter mile or a little bit less than a quarter mile, and that's where that job site is. It's like a well in the ground, or like they're drilling some water down there.
Okay.
I've never seen that out there. Again, there's a lot of like little pockets of construction going around out there, but that's what they were doing, and from that location is where he drove away, and then he, like I said, put all the tracks out of there. So. Okay,
yeah, I see it right on the map. I see it now. Okay. I understand. Okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. That area, I know that the fence is locked usually to get out to Cactus Road, but if you go south and even north of that location, there's like access roads from farms and all that. Not farms, but they have like little access gates because there's cattle out there that usually farmers or people that ride their quads and stuff will go onto that, and they connect out there. Again, that thing goes on for miles, and you can get lost out there for days if somebody really wanted to go out exploring. So again, there's a lot of those roads connect to each other. So if that gate is locked, then you might be able to go somewhere north or south of it to get into that access area. But again, if you do come out to explore it or try to look for him, again, give us a heads up so we're aware of that, and we can maybe try to give assistance to you. And again, by tomorrow morning, I'll hopefully have more answers for you as far as what we're going to be doing on that. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything else I can help you with, bro?
No, that'll be it.
All right, man. Well, stay positive, and I'll keep you guys in my thoughts and my prayers. And we'll talk soon. Okay, David?
I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Okay. Take care, bud.
Good.
Okay. Everybody still can hear me. Thank you so much for listening to that. I started to cut off a little earlier than that, but decided to go ahead and let it run through. I know it was really lengthy. It's really lengthy voice thing. But those are some of the things I wanted, like I said, want to share with the public and give you my thoughts on that. Like I said, when I got that phone call, that was I had to process everything that he was saying to me at the time. And that's when I started having that language in my mind. You know, look, these guys are not going to do anything. You know, I hear everything, but I hear excuses. That's what it sounds like to me. When a parent, when a family member, when the job, would say certain things. You know, when Officer Cruz went to speak with some of the coworkers and things like that, and some of the things that was given to them at the moment. Would say, hey, look, we need to get this helicopter out there now. So, give me a moment again. That bothered me. And it still bothered me. It's bothered me every time I hear it. I have to relive it every moment a lot. So those things bother me. Now, I want to say that I have a couple of things I want to go before I jump off because it's already almost an hour into this live. And I want to, excuse me, everyone, I have an allergy issue, but I want to give one more, if I can, for everyone. And this is just some photos. I just want to kind of talk about the first search and a couple of things that would kind of come to mind when I talk about this. And you probably would yourself say, you know what, this is something that we need to consider. And so when I say I put a lot of things in the public, I don't put a lot of things in the public. I have my own investigation. And I'm putting this out and I'm going to say, I'm not saying anyone is a suspect, but these are some of the things you have to consider when it turns to the story about what happened to my son. But I want to go in the comments real quick, and I want to say something about your comments. And at the same time, I want to, like I said, show you some couple of pictures I have here of my first search. I mean, the very first search when I went out, and I want to give you a little backdrop of that. But I did see you all on the comments while this thing was going on. I wish I saw it on, you guys have it on the screen here, but I want to, as you talk about it, Kim, you said it kills me when law enforcement says someone has to be missing 48 to 72 hours. Yes, before they can do anything. Then others wait to report, and law enforcement says, why did you take so long to report? And the thing I tell people all the time, Kim, is that there's no such thing. If you have law enforcement, anytime with families who hear my voice right now, have missed a loved one, and you want to report. If they ever tell you that, I didn't know at the time, but if they ever tell you, hey, look, you have to wait 2 hours, you have to wait 1 hour, you have to wait 5 minutes, it don't matter. If they ever tell you the word wait, you need to wait this minute. No, you dispute that. Say, hey, look, what is your policy that says that? And they will not be able to pull it up because there's no such policies in police departments that would have you wait any given moment of time. So where I look at that is when law enforcement tried to play family member, or they try to play know-it-all, or whatever the case may be, or they just don't feel like doing the work, right? And they will say, hey, look, you need to wait this many hours because they trying to make judgment calls of someone they don't even know. Anytime a family says their loved one is missing, promise you guys, is a reason why they're saying that. Law enforcement should always treat it as if what they're saying is valid at that moment, and work your way backwards to say, hey, look, we're gonna treat it as this person is urgently missing, and bring it back to the point to say, oh, they're okay. I heard a story. One of my investigators, like I said, I had other investigators. One of my investigators told me a story about a woman was looking for her husband, and it might sound kind of funny when I say the story, but it's true. And he was missing, and she ended up calling law enforcement. Her husband didn't come home. She was feeling really distraught about it. Make a long story, law enforcement took that situation seriously. They went out really quickly, looked for this gentleman. They found him quick. Found him, but he was at a hotel. Not with a woman or anything like that, but he was at a hotel. When they found the gentleman, they end up telling the wife that he'd been located. Of course, she's naturally going to say, where is he? But he told them that he just wanted to be by himself. He wanted to be alone. He got a hotel room to be gone away from the grid and everything else and everybody for a moment. He just need air or something. But we rather that as a family to be able to have someone that had went out. Let's say I'd rather for Daniel had just left. He's a mastermind. He set this vehicle up the way he did and put his clothes out on the ground, just did all of that just to say, I just want to be away somewhere, which, I'm saying this in a funny way. and law enforcement found them. And he said, hey, I just need this, blah, blah. And then they come back to me, Mr. Robinson, he's okay. He just don't want to, whatever. The family will be wondering, of course, but we'll feel okay that he's fine. And that's where law enforcement should be handling the people cases all the time. When families, I promise you guys, when they have a missing loved one, I talked to some families before. They say, I have one family, she told me that I think it's her sister, does it all the time. Just disappears. So that family never calls the cops because they say, oh, she does this all the time. They know what she does. They know she's fine. Whenever she's ready, she always come back and start doing what she do. And I get when Officer Haley was saying something to, oh yeah, in most cases, because you look at statistic wise, yes, a lot of people are found. Okay, right? At the same time, again, it's not their job to make those determinations based on that. They have to treat every case as an emergency, especially when the family say, hey, look, it was a simple call. I mean, it was simple to put a bird in the air. I really believe if they would have did that at the moment I asked that night, they would have did that even that morning. That officer you heard just now, they denied it. They would have saw something. Something would have been found. And so long story short, and that was right there the day after. And you guys reading that report, they say, oh yeah, right after, I guess they and I'm sure, and the other next record I'm going to let you guys hear. And this is 3 days after the day they claim they sent it. They say 2 days after, right? And I'm going to let you hear a recording of me talking to, record myself talking to law enforcement when I can't remember which officer. I think that was the Birchfield officer who looked into their computer. There was no mention. He said, I come to work and I ain't hear nothing about them doing no helicopter search, right? Even though they told my family they did so. The other part is when I was in Arizona, living in Arizona, in Phoenix, in that 1-bedroom apartment, I went to Fire and Rescue, Phoenix Firebird, Fire and Rescue. It's part of the fire department and so on. And I put in a FOIA request. This was I did that in 2022. Here it is, 2025, and they still can't find it, right? Because when I go ask them about it, they first started off say, hey, it don't exist, we don't have it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure they got wind that I'm day rousing looking for my son, and I'm really, really hard on the police pretty much. And then they changed their language and said, oh, we're still looking for it. And ever since then, every so often I chat and they say, oh, we're still looking for it. So it takes you all these years to still find that actually exists in a record of that flight actually happening. It never happened. And so what I'm saying is I have those things, but yet you guys see it in the police report. And then I hear these people time and time again come on my lives and Buckeye did a great job, or they say Buckeye did this, but I'm sure they're this police believing thing. Unless it happened to their family member, they would not see law enforcement being able to falsify documents. Like Chief Hall at the time of Buckeye Police Department, the whole department got in trouble for falsifying documents when it comes to crime statistics. And Chief Hall got suspended, and they somehow kept him though, but they brought him back, but suspended for falsifying documents. So they have a history of doing that in this department. But then you have people outside look at that when they put something in a report and say, oh, I did this and I did that. And a lot of times, my friend Larnell, the police officer, he would tell you guys, they always naming stuff that I did and claim it as their own. They even at one point told me my own story. I was talking to Detective Biffin one time, and he was telling me my own story. But I was telling him about me and my investigator went up to Flagstaff, and we followed a lead where we went to a grocery store called Bash's. Anybody who live in Arizona and know what Bash's is? We don't have Bash's here, but went to the grocery chain because of a lead. So one thing they see Daniel panhandling outside of the grocery store. Make a long story, he was with some other people, blah blah, and we went there, and make a long story short, it didn't lead to nowhere. He was telling me my own story. Yeah, we went to Bash and we talking. I mean, the same as that wording. It's just that they did it, and he was telling me that. And I'm looking at this man like, how you telling me my own story? So what I'm saying is, they can take credit easily. Another thing I'm gonna show you guys in part of this series I'll be doing some emails. It was a time when I was on a live and we're talking about the human remains, and you guys know that I've said we up to 7, 8 human remains bring closure for other families. But then when y'all hear it now, they're saying we only found 2 human remains, like 2 people, right? And I'm not a person to be like some of my, and I'm gonna say it this way, and I hate to say it because there's a history behind what I say. I'm not some of my battle buddies who was really hard on body counts or something when we was in Afghanistan. So I'm not a person that says I like to have numbers when it comes to tragedies and things like that, right? The only problem I had at the time was that we was working hard. Law enforcement wasn't helping us. Was out there in 118-degree weather. And when I say we, it's me and my family. I call everyone who's out there in that desert. We was like this. Believe it or not, it could be 200 people out there. We was close like this in that desert out there. Searching for my son. People don't even know Daniel, don't know me, but they're out there helping me, right? And so when we found human remains out there, and again, the way things were set up, I had it my website, and it's still set up this day. And this guys saw in the last live I had last week. And I tell you, you go on my website right now, and you see the thing say submit info. I'm telling you guys, do not put nothing crazy on that submit info because it's still attached to the Buckeye Police Department. It goes straight to law enforcement. It goes straight to me, and it goes straight to then my private investigator, but no longer he don't work for me. But what I'm saying is those things that we submit, those pictures, I didn't go out there in that desert and say, oh, this are human remains. I didn't, I've seen human remains before, of course. But I'm not a pathologist and I'm not an expert in that. It was law enforcement's job to tell us what those were. And when they say those human remains, we flag it and we give them the coordinates, and they supposed to, we just keep going. And I'll search for my son, and they're supposed to come back at a later time and get those remains off the ground and do what they do, I guess, take it to the medical examiners or whatever they do. And that was the whole protocol since I started my searches. So when they tell me, again, I like to use the word femurs because we found a lot of femurs. And when you find femurs, if you got more than one femur, if you got more than 2 femurs, then now you got, let's say you got 3 femurs. That means it's 1 person and a half. Then you find another femur. So now you got 4 femurs. That's 2 people. So we start counting it that way. We got all the way up to 7 or 8 people. That's how we got it. And for different things, we gotta have 1 long vertebrae. And I don't know too many people who got 2 spinal cords. But if you find more than, so we kind of add these things up to get the numbers that we have. Make a long story, keeping up. We lost kind of losing track. And that's why I can't argue with them, because those, when I say I have some little things that happen in my search with certain personnel, lost a lot of information. But one thing that still remains is the fact that I'm going to show you guys an email. Someone came on my live and say there was really one of the, I don't know if it was a volunteer, but someone who was supporting everything I do hit me up on email me and said, Mr. Robinson, don't you know the Maricopa County Medical Examiner Office giving credit to the Buckeye Police Department for finding human remains? Now, we all know that Buckeye Police Department haven't even found their own hands in front of their face. They say they had, when this vehicle showed up, they had cadaver dogs and search dogs out there. They claimed, which even though the rancher said they only had 1 dog, he was there witness it. And that dog didn't stay long for 30 minutes and went back in because there was a mountain lion out there. But they say there's right here at the scene with tracking dogs and cadaver dogs and stuff, right? But yet somehow they didn't see that human skull not too far from this spot right here. I mean, on a few hundred feet, we found that, right? So what I'm saying is, when that person said that to me, it made me feel offended, because I know the hard work that the volunteers have been doing out there to find that and bring these closures to these families. And then yet the police department get credit for something they haven't done. So I called the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office myself. I made a complaint about it. They and I have the email where they apologized to me and correct the error and gave a contribution to my searches and the volunteers in the desert out there to find these human remains. And it was these human remains. It wasn't 1 or 2. They tried to credit to be. So long story. And one of those human remains was contributed to a family in Florida. So all those things are things that happen in real on the ground versus what you see in a report. That's why when you guys, I have someone I talked to today and say, hey, you read this in the report? I said, man, I stopped reading that report a long time ago because it's trash to me, right? because a lot of things, every time I read certain things and I start getting angrier and angrier when it comes to police report, especially when they start attacking me personally. Oh, Mr. McGrath said this. I mean, they ain't got nothing to do with my son being missing what Mr. McGrath think or whatever the case may be. So those kind of things, sensationalizing Daniel's case. But nevertheless, what I'm saying is I got some things I want to keep sharing with you guys to help you guys understand Daniel's case a lot better. And the reason why I've been fighting so hard, mainly because I love my son. The other part is because I thought when I first came out to Arizona that, you know, I was going to have law enforcement working with me. And I really believed it for a long time. But after this vehicle showed up, I still thought they was working with me. They gave me the information I had. That's why I have all this thing. The first police report, it was partial, and then they gave me a full report. And they said it was done. They told my investigator to investigate. So I thought they was working with me. But then when they gave me that story about maybe he joined the monastery, become a monk, and some wild animal ate him, and then stuff at the scene just didn't make sense to me. And I know my son, you know, and I had to go get a private investigator. And once we got the private investigator, and he found the red transfer paint and 11 additional miles that started off, and then they gave him a hard time. He said he wanted to take the infotainment system, send out to California for analysis, and get that report, which he ended up doing. And when he compiled all that stuff together and found all this information that say this vehicle was staged right here at this point, it was put there because it don't match the damage and all that. He reconstructionist. The damage on the vehicle don't match the terrain. I mean, there's all of the information that we have. And we had all that information. This says, hey, this is foul play that happened here. Gave it to Buckeye Police. They held on it. They didn't speak to me for a whole month. They all of a sudden they shut down. I don't know what they were doing it the whole time. And what I found that they ended up doing is hiring their own. Now they have detectives. So why they had to hire a private investigator? But they hired their own private investigator to dispute what my investigator gave them. It's like the whole intent was just that, this dispute. And the crazy part about that investigator, his name called Santan Recon, is that he's supposed to be a reputable type of investigator, right? It has in reconstruction, but he based his whole report, a long report. And you guys gonna see that too. It's almost like me looking at this picture right here and telling you what happened on the scene without actually touching this vehicle, without examining this damages, the length of a scar on the vehicle, checking that red transfer paint, looking at the vehicle versus the terrain. He looking at pictures that was taken from the scene and make a full report about something he never seen in his life. You get what I'm saying? Didn't even have the audacity or encouragement to even ask me for the vehicle. It was in my possession at the time. He could have said to me, hey, Mr. Robinson, can I examine the vehicle? I may have said yes. Even though I didn't trust the Buckeye Police, I may have said yes. You examine the vehicle, see what my investigator, for matter of fact, my investigator and you both can go together and look at this vehicle together and really do a proper analysis of this vehicle that was says the same thing what my investigator found. Instead of them accepting it, they started fighting against me, and they started sensationalizing my son's case and so on and so on and so on and so on until this day where we're going. So what I'm saying is somebody come to me and they say Buckeye Police does such a great job, it always offends me because they haven't been on the ground to have to deal with the things that I had to deal with as a father, as a novice, as a person that didn't know, and I had to learn on the curve. I had to learn how to be an investigator. I had to wear many hats. I had to learn how to be a private investigator of my own. I had to be an advocate for my son, to try to get his story on a national level. It took me 3 months to do that. How to organize a search, how to learn. I had to educate myself about the Sonoran Desert. You ask me about Sonoran Desert, I can tell you everything about that Sonoran Desert out there. I can tell you about the Prospect Mines. I can tell you about the wars pretty much they had for that land out there in the 80s. I can tell you so much because I had to sit there and do a lot and get only 2 hours of sleep every night. So long story, what I'm saying is, I'm here to educate people, at the same time talk about Daniel's case, to give you a little bit more like I did when you heard me record myself, the recordings I have of myself talking to law enforcement, so you guys can hear. Reason why I say that report now, don't take that report they have written in stone as totally credible, right? So that's the reason why I say these things. But anyway, let me get back to what I want to show you guys, and I'm gonna give you the backdrop of that. I spent many days when I got to Arizona. The first thing I did was talk to Ken at that well site. The crazy ironicity to that, let me see if I got it on the wrong side here. The crazy ironicity to this story is I was driving. I'll be honest with you, as a father, that's all I could see at the time, right? I wanted to find my son because in my mind, to be honest with you, I was gonna get to Arizona and find Daniel just like that. That was what I believed. But I also wanted to see this guy Ken, and I had to look this man in the eye. I'm a single parent, and you know I know my son. If anybody know Daniel, I know Daniel. I'm there all his life, you know, and so this guy was telling me something about my son that I would have known. It's a couple things that stuck out to me while I was driving. He said, he said he wanted to go to Tempe and rest. I didn't think about the Phoenix and rest. I didn't think about the fact that he lived in Tempe because I'm in Arizona at the time. But the thing that stuck out to me that he said he was sleepy, right? He was so sleepy he wanted to go home. And I know my son, if he was sleepy, first of all, he would have called in to work if it was that sleepy at the second well site. And then the other part is if he just wouldn't have came at all. I just know there's certain things that stood out to me, and it sounded like my son when he was talking. Then he was talking about he said he was they said it, he was seeing if his eyes. It's some things that you guys haven't seen in the report, but see if his eyes was dilated, right? And then I said my son's a black male, and my doctors have to take a light and put it in my eye to see my pupils or whatever. I'm sure everybody when they go to the eye doctor and stuff like that. My son would not let some grown man, shine a light in his eye to see if his eyes dilated or something. I mean, some crazy stuff he was saying. Ken was saying. So those kind of things stood out to me, and it was bothering me. And I would say, this man gonna have to look me in my eye and say that crap. Basically, that's how I felt, you know. And I wouldn't call the man a liar at the time. I just need to hear him look in my eyes and say it was the truth, what the officers were telling me at the time, right? And so I did that, set that up. I talked to Ken, and I told you the story, and I'm going to show you some footages of that, but not tonight because I didn't prepare for that. But we'll be talking about Ken's story too, a little in depth. The pictures I have and the notes that I'll take, you guys will see the pad in my hand and also the two witnesses, but the pad in my hand that I wrote down as he was talking. So it wasn't like I forgot what he said, right, to me directly. When I said he stayed left of those track and he knew this thing's gonna go national, and you know, law enforcement gonna go looking and these things gonna go national. It's steered in my brain, and I have those things still. So why would he say this thing would go national? What that was all about, you know? And this thing, which he ended up doing, it ended up going national. My son's story had went national. Unless he's a psychic or a prophet or something, I don't know why he said that. The other part is I was out there. I didn't know how to get in the desert, and I still was encouraged by law enforcement at the time when I got in Arizona, not to go in the desert because I drive a car, a four-wheel car. We call them four-wheelers, the truck drivers. I don't want to tell what type I have, but a car. And he said, you know, you go out there, you get stuck. He would start mentioning these words, ravines. That's what made me really go study this desert. I've been in the desert, of course, in Afghanistan. Someone that said, yes, do they realize that you're a veteran? Yes, they did not, obviously, especially when they tell me some crazy stuff. But yes, I'm a veteran. I'm a war veteran. I'm a veteran who's been in Afghanistan. I've been in the desert. I lived in the desert 14 months for deployments. And so the point is, what I'm saying is I know desert terrain when it comes to Afghanistan and the heat training that we have and all this kind of stuff in the military. But I didn't know anything about this vegetation type desert of Arizona. So I had to educate myself when law enforcement say, hey, don't go out there. You might get stuck in this, what they call it. They say talk about the ravines. I know what a ravine is, but they talk about the kind of ravines they have and this and that and blah, blah, blah. You get stuck, no type thing, that kind of that vehicle. And so I'll be honest with you, I used to be out there with my binoculars, and I was out there almost every day, you guys, at this fence, at the Sun Valley Parkway fence. I was right there, Captain Road fence. I was out there with my binoculars almost every day. I used to drive up there to that location, think I could see Daniel with those binoculars, right? And so only thing was keeping me from Daniel at the time was that desert itself. I needed to get in that desert, go search for my son. I needed some help. I need some people who know. So make a long story, I ended up organizing my search to get out there in that desert. And I'm gonna say some little pictures from. It was only a couple of pictures, and I want to point out the reason why I want y'all to see these pictures. But The first search I had out there in Arizona, I worked with a gentleman who lived in Buckeye. He knew the Buckeye. He knew how to get some of the people to come out and things like that. So we worked together. Start the first search, and we met at a truck stop. That's where the first search was going to be. We put out on the internet and all that stuff. And nervous, not knowing the people going to show up. One thing that I wanted person to come was Daniel's boss. As Daniel's boss come, he said he was coming. We were talking on the phone. I got to the gas station early, the truck stop early, waiting on everybody to show up. And when Daniel's boss showed up, he told me what vehicle he was driving in. I'm telling you guys, I looking, because when he said it, he said, I'm at the pump. I looked there behind, look out my window, my car, and I saw a red vehicle sitting there. And you guys know that I said the word red. Red vehicle sitting there, red pickup truck. But this pickup truck had a lot of heavy damage on the front end of it, right? And at the time, I was like, that can't be him. And he said, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then, yes, sure enough, that's his vehicle. It's a red pickup truck. And it has a lot of front end damage, right? And I was like, he driving that ragged. That's what I was thinking in my head. Is he going to get that fixed? Basically, you know, don't mean like saying somebody's car raggedy, but he's going to get that fixed. And so that's what I was thinking in my mind. But I talked to him. And then we, once we got everybody together, we started saying, hey, you know, give them assessment what they need to do when we get out to the desert. Everybody's going to follow us to the next exit, which would have been Sun Valley Parkway. And we're going to go up to this area. And the guy that I was working with, he knew the area real well. I didn't even know how to get to this well site at the point, but I knew I needed to get there. That was on my mind day and night. I need to get to this well site. I need to find out, see this place where my son was last seen. All this kind of stuff is in my head. And so, make a long story, everybody pair it off. And I can tell you, you know how this world is, and this is the truth. And I went the way I'm going to say it is factual. Big old crowd. Everybody white out there but me. I'm the only black person at the time. But then I noticed there was a black female standing there. And the black female, she was standing by herself. Then all of a sudden, when I looked at her again, she was standing next to me. Because, you know, it's natural for people the same race, they kind of gravitate towards each other. So she's standing next to me, and he was putting people, say, hey, anybody want to, we need people get in groups of twos, my partner. He's like, hey, look, man, we need to get everybody in groups of twos. Everybody don't need to stick together. And so when we go out there, everybody paired off each other, and we was the only two left. So, and I said, okay, well, we're going to hop in my vehicle and go, because I was at that point to say, I'm just going to bust my car up because I have to go out there to this. I need to see this well site. And she was like, no, I got an SUV. Really nice one, brand new one. I got this SUV. We taking this. No, I'm taking my car. You're not taking. No, we taking this. Whatever. Make a long story. Got into her vehicle and drove up, followed the group to which that's the reason why I had Daniel Boss to come, because he needed to show us exactly how to get to this well site, right? Because nobody really knows where this well site is located. The person I'm working with didn't know, we didn't know, and his job was to get us to this well site. Everybody else was going out there to do what we call a hasty search, just ride around in the vehicle, see if you could find anything in these trails with Daniel. We was going straight to the well site. That was my mission. And so when we got off of Sun Valley Parkway, we was going down the little road. We passed that T-junction thing. Now that hindsight, I know it, because he stopped. He said, oh, no, we're supposed to turn here. And we backed up a little bit, and then we ended up going up north, like you guys hear the story, towards that well site. Now, I hear the officer saying a little, like less than a half mile up north, but no, Ken said 2 miles. And also the other officer told me 2 miles to get in. Also, Daniel's boss was saying 2 miles north to get to this well site. So we started driving there, and he got us to this location, and the location he sent us to was actually a corral. So I'm looking at it, we was looking for this well site. We were walking all around the corral, cow poop all over the place. Walking through, and I'm like, this can't be right. But he was saying this well, we're looking for this well, whatever. Come to find out it was a little further up, right? And I'm sure that's where the 2 mile, close to the 2 mile mark is. But anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on. Pictures here. I'm gonna make it bigger so everybody can see this. But this is his vehicle. This is close to the best I can make this. You guys probably own the vehicle I have, like I said. And this is the vehicle, and I'll kind of blow it up a little bit so you guys can see the color of it in a way. Red vehicle. This Daniel's boss. Right? You can see this better. But anyway, we followed behind him off of Sun Valley Parkway going down this dirt road. It's little north of that West Cactus trail. And so this trail leads us down to where the T junction will end up coming in. And then, like I said, you make that right turn and go north to get to the well site. But then when he did that, let me see if I can get it back here. When he did that, I'm just taking some little shots, of course, of the terrain. That's my first time being out in that desert, and I'm just trying to assess where we go. But this is what I'm talking about. We got here, and if you guys can't tell, but there was that front end over there on the other side of that vehicle is really bad. But this is the area that he took us to, and it was a corral. And like I say, it was cow poop all over the place. That's one thing that I noticed, and we was walking around this whole entire structure and inside this area where I guess the cows are held at or something, because like I said, it's all over the place. And we didn't find any well, right? So had to leave out of this area, and he tried to get his bearings right, I guess, into that fact. Then he finally got it right, and he just took us to the well site, and that's why we ended up here at the well site where the vehicle is actually located. So this is my first time actually seeing this vehicle for the first time. I mean, this well site for the first time. I didn't know too much about what wells should look like. In my mind, it would have been this brick thing around like we see on TV or something. But I put this on to show you guys what I had to see. But if I could show you, point out like around the areas here, that vegetation is very close to the well site than what y'all guys see on other information that you see when it comes to me. You know, because like I said, they started building on this area, and when they started building on the area, they start cutting around the area, and it started getting further and further away. So now it's a big old wide open area, but it wasn't always that way. It's very close. So when I got that well site, the first thing I did is standing at that well, I pretend I was Daniel. I pretended I was my son, and I stood out there and say, okay, what Ken said he was staring at, like, what is it to stare? Because when you look, if you look, every direction will look like the vegetation you see. Those, because this area here is closer to the Wagner Wash area, the Hassayampa River area. So it gets a lot of, whenever it does rain, which it don't rain in Arizona much, but whenever we go through the rainy season, this right here is a wash that's going across there, right there. Water runs through here. So the area around here is a little more lush, you could say, with vegetation, right? So with that, it's really thick. So in other words, what would he be looking at, right? And so I couldn't figure that part out, and I was just standing there and just try to be my son for a moment, and try to get in Daniel's head and see what the logic was and those type things. I know my son's a very logical person, and I couldn't find anything. So that really bothered me. It was really troublesome to me because, look, that is not, it just didn't feel right. The story to me didn't feel right to me because of things that were said. So let's see, I've been here for an hour and 20 minutes. I'm may have to say some of these things for later. But I'm just going to give you a touch, everyone, that of what I'll be talking about next. I'll be talking about on my next live stream next week. I'll be talking about the Silver Air Patrol, which I say was the first search that Buckeye Police Department did. That was like 2 weeks after Daniel went missing. It was actually on July the 9th, 2021, and I call that the first search. So that search they claim they did with that helicopter and all that didn't exist. Till they actually honor that FOIA request, which is against the law. That should have been had by now. I can make a deal about that. But they don't exist. So would y'all read that in the report? Throw it in the trash. But the Silver Air Patrol, I was actually there, and I'm going to show you. Well, I might as well go ahead and jump on to it, but I'm going to talk about it next week to show you guys my thoughts on them. See if I can put the right one. I have one video that I want to show you, and I kind of spoke on it. I I think it may be this one. But I'm gonna play this for you guys, and then I'm gonna leave. We're gonna end it there, and then we'll talk about some of those things like the searches next week, and then I'm gonna build, like I said, build the story up until build a story up until we get to the points where I'm saying where I feel that law enforcement haven't done the job that they could have done. I'm trying to find the right video, so you guys hear that in the background. That's me trying to fish the one. I have a couple of videos I want to share, but I think it's this one. It may be this one. If not, I'll find the right one. But I have a couple of files that I'm going to share with you guys. So here we go. I'm going to put this in, and we're going to go with this for now. And then
Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road, a little bit down the road there. This is the entrance where my son Daniel went into. Oh, I see the sign they have right there on the sign on the cage. You see that right there? Where he was last seen going out there in the desert. And I see the police department have this out. So yeah, I see that. So we have this at the gate, or the entrance gate. The gate is not really locked. It got some thing there. Yeah, that looks better, don't it? But this is the entrance to the work area that leads, well, the road that leads to the work area that he was last seen. What kind of document, but it goes way out. I'm sure the camera can't pick that up, but it goes way out, like miles and miles and miles till you get to that mountain out there somewhere. And then go out that way, it goes on even farther somewhere. So they're saying it's gonna be here at 5 a.m. It's a little after 5 now. And we're waiting to see Silver Air Patrol come out along with the other guys. Where we had organized to show up to do their thing. So we're waiting. We're gonna find out or not. They need to be here. So kind of anxious. Hope the Lord bless they find my son and my daughter's brother. All right, baby, this is it.
Okay, that's hard to even think, but it's more video to that, and to give the context of that again. I have had doubts that I had early doubts that helicopter search didn't happen, even though my aunt T from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, had alerted me as I was coming to Arizona that she was really excited. They say they're gonna put the bird in the air and things like that. I think they just told her that to make her feel good, and it didn't actually happen. And the reason why I was doubtful is because of what Ken told me when I talked to him face to face. And we'll talk about those, and I want to get into, because like I say, this will be for the next time. But some things he told me face to face that he witnessed. Law enforcement wasn't at the well site, or nor there were any helicopters flying in the air. And he was there the whole entire day. So I'll talk about those. And in context of this video was that Detective Biffin mentioned about the Civil Air Patrol. You guys will hear that audio too, that they was going to put the bird in the fly in the air, plane in the air to search the area, and the guys on the ground. I heard them and I didn't believe them too much, to be honest with you. So I said, you know what, to see if they actually going to do that, what they say they're going to do. I didn't tell them I was coming. I said, okay, great. Thanks so much to give me some information, basically. And as soon as I hung up the phone with them, I called my daughter and said, hey, look, we getting up early in the morning, and we're going to be at Sun Valley Parkway at 4 o'clock. I think it was 4:30 in the morning, because they said they're going to be there at 5 o'clock. And we got there at 4:30. It wasn't even light outside yet. That's why it looked so dim. Like, it was dark when we got there. And then the sun started coming rising. 5 o'clock was getting there, and they didn't show up till 8 o'clock. So we was out there for a good while. But they ended up not showing up till sometime after 8 o'clock that morning. And so we'll talk about those things as well. So anyway, I will jump off here now. And I want to thank you guys for your patience with this whole live tonight. We'll be doing this every week until whenever. I'll do this until the end of the week till we get to where we're at now in my son's case. There's some more information I'm working on. I'm working with some partners on the outside of this. We were talking about investigative stuff and some new things about that law enforcement should have found. I have someone that have been working very hard behind the scenes to get information on my son's case, to give you some other things you guys need to think about and what you guys need to know when it comes to Daniel. So again, I'm working on that with him. Hopefully, we would, like I said, pretty soon we'll be sharing that kind of stuff with you guys. Some things outside, like I said, that's not public. But some things, well, some of it's public, but a lot of it's not. And then some things need to be pushed out there a lot better. So going back into that, and also to, like I say, like again, just really put you where we're at with law enforcement right now, and why I still need your continued help to push along my son's case to get these answers, because the answers there, the longer it takes, it's a lot harder to get the answers you actually need, but long as law enforcement dragging their foot. So I really, how I want to say it, April 10th this year, I really hoped that it was a reset with the Buckeye Police Department. I mean, I really did. I mean, I'm really doubtful again right now. And I'll explain those things to you, because we have a new police chief, Sanders. He's not actually new, but he was actually assistant and moved up. And then we have a new Detective Adams, Justin Adams is his name. Justin Adams of the Buckeye Police Department, who seemed to be a person who would actually do something different from what Detective Biffin haven't done yet. And so, but it's almost feeling like the same old same. The only difference is, so far, the only thing that Detective Adams done in the thing we spoke about before that custody exchange is hadn't been done. There's one thing he said he done, and that was spray the clothing you see on the ground here. Oh, get my orientation right. The clothing with some kind of chemical, something till like the luminous or whatever they call the stuff, to look for blood. He keeps explaining to me about they use something else to spray on the clothes that look for blood without damaging DNA. But then now, when last I spoke with him, email wise, he is saying language as in first he said about DNA not being destroyed, but then he's saying now, oh, the length of time, there probably ain't no DNA there, you know. So make a long story, I think that comes to me it sounds like a movement to not, I won't say cover up, but to how I want to say I'm trying not to say cover up, but that's the only word I can use in a sense. Cover up the fact that you know, something else, the clothes haven't been handled right, or this may have happened, and now the chemicals we use probably destroyed DNA. And so, because what I think what the problem is, that I told him, I'll keep calling him about it. You know, hey, look, what y'all done yet? And one of the concerns I have is like, look, when you guys are done with my son things, I need all of the stuff back. So that was the agreement we have. Once you're done doing the same stuff you can do, we'll have it back. Because I told him then I'm gonna have it independently tested, right? So having said that, I'm sure if there's some words that they didn't handle it right, or something can come back up from an independent testing, then they probably worried about that. And that's what I'm saying, the cover up part. So that's what I'm feeling in this. And I could be feeling the negatively part, but I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. So of course, I'm still gonna get it independently tested and let someone else tell me, hey, this has been handled right, or this chemical they use destroyed us, or we have residue of this certain kind of chemical, whatever the case may be. We definitely going to do that. So, and the other part, lastly, also the fact that I talked to Detective Adams so far and asked them about what happened is, and my son, vehicle showed up. This vehicle showed up, I think it was on July the 22nd, roughly 21st or 22nd. I had a meeting with the Buckeye Police Department Chief Hall at the time. And one of the things I asked for was forensics on this vehicle, because they haven't done the scene. Again, you guys going to hear the recording of myself talking to Detective Biffin when he's described there was no forensics done on the scene at all, period. And the reasons why he felt that they didn't warrant one, right? And so I was in that meeting, man, and I said, y'all gonna do something, fingerprint or something, how you know my son's driving, this, that, blah, blah. And they said I'm gonna do the fingerprint. That's all I asked for. I don't know nothing about that kind of stuff. But it turns out they end up swabbing, they say they swabbed the steering wheel, shift third door handle. But they didn't touch the airbags, even though all of them deployed. They didn't touch the passenger seat, all of them deployed, to see if anybody else is in the vehicle. But nevertheless, they have a swab and they say of the steering wheel, shifter, and door handle. So, okay, that was when that happened, that was in 2021. This is 2025, right? And 2021, 2022, 2023, I think it was 2022, the end of 2022, they called me. It's almost like they waited. They waited until we couldn't afford Daniel's apartment any longer. I'm telling you guys, I had so much bills going on. It was crazy. Still trying to take care of his bills and keep everything intact. Make sure nobody, in case there's some evidence there. I mean, it was a lot, right? And so we're paying these monthly bills to the point we can't pay it anymore. And so I talked to the detectives and I told them, look, we're gonna have to dismantle this apartment. Y'all need to go in there for anything. No, they didn't. They ain't see no reason. But my investigator did. So once he finished what he had to do, me and my family, I flew Daniel's mother up to Arizona to we had to do an ABC News interview to make a long story while she was there. We went ahead and took care of Daniel's stuff. I went ahead and had them to pack up his things while all of his siblings and his mother, while I was doing some other things in the desert and all the stuff I was doing. So they packed his stuff up and put them in boxes, and then they left. Then I had to go in there and get those boxes by myself, though. All the stuff is furniture, boxes, and put it in a U-Haul truck and take it to a storage unit. Now, after I did that, that's when, after all is said and done, that's when the Buckeye Police Department called me after the fact and said some crazy crap like, oh, yeah, here's almost a year later. Do you happen to have a razor that belongs to Daniel? I'm saying, what you need razor for? So we can do comparison of swabbing that we did on the vehicle to make sure it's Daniel's, see if it's Daniel's DNA or something to that effect, whatever they're doing with it. And I'm like, you thinking I'm having a razor in my pocket, my son? I mean, it was crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Like they almost purposely waited till we have nothing of my son. His apartment is dismantled before they did this. And to this date, they haven't been tested. They haven't been compared. And yet people say they did a good job. And so the problem I'm having with that is that it's 2025. And I talked to him on the 10th, like I said, April 10th. And I called him like last month. I called him the month before that. And I called and I asked him, and I think it was like 2 months ago, Detective Adam told me, I asked him about that swabbing. And he said he kind of passed the buck on, or it's some other lady's her job. So I said, but you're the detective. No, it's her job. And because I asked him, I think what trapped him up when he said that, he pushed it off on her when I said, he said, oh yeah, I think I don't want to put words in my mouth, but I almost felt that he said something like they actually was working with that swabbing to get answers, right? And I said, well, what you comparing it to? Because y'all have nothing to compare it to. Then that's when he was like pushing it off to somebody because it was nothing to compare it to. Like what you comparing to say this is my son's DNA, right? And so it was that kind of thing. He pushed off some woman. He said he's going to this day. He's still saying she's now he's saying she's out of town. I talked to him. I think it was last week, a week or two. She's out of town or something. That kind of stuff. I'm like, come on, people. So that's what I'm saying. It's getting to a point where I'm getting back to this point. I don't want to feel like people say, oh, there you go again, checking law enforcement. I just don't like have jobs. I don't like I'm not a person. I'm a logical person. I'll just put it that way. And so I just don't let things slide. So to make a long story, that's where we're at, people. And so what I'm saying, I need your help. And the reason why I need your help even more so, I'm running for Congress. And it wasn't for me. It never was about me and this whole thing. I keep saying this for a reason. On my life, I always say, look, you guys, I haven't been on a vacation since, I can't remember when COVID happened, but since before COVID, the last time I ever been on a vacation, right? Been no vacations, working every day of my life about my son, trying to help as many families as I can. Had to slow down on that. Started a foundation, And my whole idea, I wrote some legislation that's right now going to be going to the floor in January here in South Carolina, and I'm talking to a senator now that I'll get ready to try to do something in Arizona. And I decided to run for Congress so I can try to fight for missing Americans and that getting drowned out in the news all about this crazy political stuff that's going on about our life and everything else. But it's never about me. Nothing I have done from day one, looking for my son, has been about me. And what I'm saying is I need help because I'm just one person trying to do it all by myself. And so when I'm doing it all by myself, I'm trying my best, and some of the things get neglected. Like I haven't been on lives much no more because I'm doing all this political stuff now. I didn't realize it was gonna be that much. I ran before, but this time is a little bit more than it was last time. Trying to be a politician, I guess. I'm not a politician, but career politician and all that stuff. But trying to do that just to win, to be able to get things done. Because I wrote the legislation that I want to take to Congress with me to push it federally for the whole country, right? As well. So long story, that's one part of my reason for running. I'm just saying there's no vacation for me. So the way you guys can help me, go pleasehelpfinddaniel.com, continue to share Daniel's story. Because last thing I need is law enforcement have an excuse to keep calling my son's case some type of cold case when it's not, right? That's the last thing. That's for me personally. So he's my number one priority before all of this that I just spoke about. My son's priority is my priority number one. So I'm fighting really hard for him. The other part is I need your help because there's other missing Americans out there, period. I'm not the best. You got organizations like Black and Missing Foundation. You got Missing American Network that I know. You got the Missing Struggle. You got all these people that are doing great things out there. So I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of great things that are happening right now. What I'm doing right now, like I said, is slowing down because I have to try to get to the certain point to be more effective for everybody, right? And so that's what I'm really fighting for. But in the meantime, I really need you guys to do everything you can to continue to share Dane's stories, like I said, to help me in areas where I can't do it myself because I'm over here and I'm trying my best to try to fill in the gap that I've been missing for a while, like doing this lives. So I'm going to do this every Friday. I told my campaign team, Friday is Daniel's day. So I have one gentleman, I have a meeting with him in the morning, trying to do things that I can have for this content and everything we're going to be talking about. And then I have stuff like I'm doing tonight, going through all my files and identify a lot of things that I can release to you guys so you guys can actually see that I haven't ever shared to the public. You never seen it on none of the show. I don't care if it's the Red Table Talk when I was talking to Jada Pinkett Smith, when it comes to Dr. Oz, when I was on Dr. Oz, when it comes to Missing American, American Most Wanted Missing Persons. I just go Dateline to wherever I was on. It's stuff that you guys have never heard about. Even they haven't heard about. So what I'm saying is it's going to be some things like that, kind of release a little bit of that, but still being able to preserve some things that I still can't release to the public because I am still doing an investigation of my son's disappearance. I am looking at law enforcement as some type of cover-ups and things like that too. So I have all of that in my head, but they move slow because I'm only one person. So that's the point I'm making. There's one person trying to do it all. So take care of you guys. Have yourself a wonderful night. And thank you everyone who have been in the chats. And those who like to watch this off of YouTube and you have to watch this after fact, I will get that straightened out next time. Let's see what else I need to say before I get off. Pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. Join the mail-in protests and all the minutes you can to law enforcement. Everything. Just go on the page and you can see all the ways you can help, sign a petition, you name it. I need financial support too as well because I definitely need to be trying to get to Arizona and things like that. Let's see what else. Any way you guys can help, share Daniel's story, all of that. So thank you guys. I'll talk to you guys on the other side, and I'll end it here. So take care. You guys have a wonderful night.